Does a silent piano still hold the echoes of a family's laughter? Or does it just sit there, waiting for someone to remember its song? My name is Clare Bennett, and I live in an old house just outside Portland, Oregon, where the wind sighed through the walls that October evening. The air felt restless as I curled up in my armchair with a shawl slipping from my knees. I noticed the quiet then, not just a lack of noise, but the missing music from the upright piano in the corner. It stood dark and covered in dust, a piece my husband Henry had made with his own hands. Nobody had touched it since his heart stopped in 2014, leaving me with its still frame and a wave of memories I couldn't escape. Henry used to fill this house with music. Every evening, he would sit at that piano, and his fingers would glide over the keys. He played for our daughter Lily, and her giggles would rise above the notes. Later, when Lily brought our grandson Jack into the world, Henry taught him too. Jack's tiny hands stumbled through scales, and his grin grew wide as Henry's jazz tunes bounced off the walls. The three of them made that piano the heartbeat of our family, tying us together through years in this Portland suburb. Now Lily lived busy in Seattle, and her calls came rarely. Jack turned 18 and drifted into a silence I couldn't reach, leaving the piano to gather dust like an old friend nobody visited. The wind rattled the windows, and I walked over to the piano. I traced its chipped edge, feeling the cool wood under my hand. Thanksgiving was coming, a chance to see Jack and maybe Lily, and I didn't want that stillness to greet them. I murmured, "You're too quiet, old thing," and pressed a key. It gave only a dull thud because the strings sat slack from years of neglect. I decided to fix it and bring it back to life so it could sing for them like it used to. I pulled at the bench, and my joints creaked as much as its hinges. A faint clink stopped me. I saw a small tin box wedged beneath, marked with Henry's initials scratched on top. My breath caught, and my fingers shook as I opened it. Inside lay sheet music, soft and yellowed, with his handwriting curling across the page. It said, "For Clare, Lily, and Jack, our song." Tears blurred the notes, a melody I'd pushed away since his last play. In 2023, Lily had sent a CD with no label, tucked in a card I'd put in a drawer because it hurt too much to hear after Henry's voice went silent. I'd left it there, avoiding the ache, letting it sit untouched with his memory. The wind howled outside, and the piano stood tall. I held that box close, a lifeline to times I thought were gone. Jack needed this, and Lily did too, a way to pull them back and make us whole again. I'd tune the keys, mend the strings, and let it sing, not just for me, but for them, for the family it had held together. The Portland rain tapped a gentle beat on my windows the next morning, matching the quiet of the piano I'd promised to bring back. Henry's sheet music lay open on my table, its notes a link to days when this house rang with life. He had built that upright in 1972 for our 10th anniversary, a gift of wood and strings shaped by his steady hands. We celebrated with tea and family cheers. Nights after that, he'd play while Lily sat beside him, her tiny fingers following his. Then Jack came along, perching on the bench, his laughter mixing with jazz melodies and soft lullabies. Those evenings kept us close. I'd knit by the fire, Lily would clap, and Jack would stumble through scales, a family tied by music. Now, with Thanksgiving near, I touched those notes, feeling Henry's love in every line. Lily had moved to Seattle 5 years ago in 2019, and her calls grew few, always about work. Jack turned 18 and pulled away, leaving the piano a stranger to his hands. I'd called him at noon and said, "Come over, Jack. I need your help with something." He arrived at dusk, lanky in a hoodie, avoiding my eyes. He mumbled, "What's this, Gran?" I pointed to the piano and said, "It's too quiet. Help me fix it for your mom and for us." He shrugged and replied, "Mom's gone. The piano's just junk now." I slid the bench out and said, "Junk? It's Henry. It's us. Sit down." He paused, then sat with a slump, running his fingers over the keys. No sound came, just dust. He said, "See? It's dead." I handed him Henry's music and said, "It's not dead. It's waiting. Read this." He looked at it, and his jaw tightened. He muttered, "Grandpa's stuff won't fix anything." I pressed on. "It fixes us. Help me tune it." He sighed. "Fine, but don't expect much." We lifted the lid, and the strings looked slack and tangled. I noticed his shoulders stiffen and his eyes darken. I asked, "Jack, what's wrong?" "It's not just the piano." He played with a wrench and said, "Mom's been gone since 1995. She barely calls and left me here like I'm nothing." My heart sank. Lily's distance had left a mark on him, a pain he'd hidden. I said, "She's caught in work, but you're her world." He shook his head. "Her world?" She forgot. "The piano's hers, not mine." I tightened a string, and a faint note rang out. I said, "It's ours, Henry's, hers, yours. We'll bring her back." He shrugged again but stayed, his hands moving slowly. The rain kept falling, a rhythm of loss, but that sound was a spark, a hint of connection I'd fight to keep alive. The Portland rain fell soft that November afternoon, whispering against my windows as Jack and I knelt by the piano, its strings tight under our hands, a faint hum growing like a heartbeat coming alive. Thanksgiving was close, and I pushed through the ache in my joints, set on making it sing for him, for Lily, for the bond we'd lost. Jack worked beside me, twisting a pedal with a wrench, his 18-year-old frame stiff, eyes dark with a storm I hadn't fully understood. He said, "Gran, this is pointless. Mom's not here, and I'm not playing her shadow." His words cut sharp, edged with a hurt that froze me in place. I set the tuning hammer down and replied gently but firm, "Her shadow? It's Henry's. It's ours. Why give up now?" He dropped the wrench, and it clanged loud on the floor. He snapped, "Because it's hers. She taught me every note in 1995 with her hands on mine, then left me for Seattle. The piano just reminds me she doesn't care." His voice broke, raw and full of pain, spilling years he'd kept inside. Lily's absence a scar he'd carried alone. I leaned closer and said, "She's still your mom. Work weighs her down, not her heart." He laughed bitter and short. He said, "Weighs her down?" She forgot me and left me with this thing like it'd fix the gap. The air thickened with his anger, a tempest I hadn't prepared for, but I stood steady. I said, "Jack, Henry played through harder times. In 1974, he lost his job and bills piled up. He sat here every night until he found a way and kept us whole with these keys. He taught Lily, then you." Jack glared at me and replied, "So I play until she remembers? She's not coming back. She left because I wasn't enough." His fists clenched and his hands shook. I saw it then. 1995, Lily at the piano, Jack beaming as she cheered his scales, a tie he'd held onto until she slipped away. I stood up and fetched the CD Lily sent in 2023, unmarked and unopened until now, hidden in a drawer because Henry's loss had hurt too much to hear her echo. I said, "Hold on." She sent this, and I thought it'd sting too deep. I slid it into the player, and a melody flowed out. Henry's song, warm and slow, Lily's hands on the keys, her voice gentle. "For Jack, I miss you, kid. Work's tough, not you. Don't give up. Jack's head jerked up, and he asked, "She sent that?" I nodded. She never forgot. She just lost herself. He stared, his breath catching. Why didn't she call? I waited and thought she didn't care. I dropped the hammer with a thud and grinned. I'm still clumsy. Guess we're both a mess. He gave a small, real smile and said, "Yeah, Gran." I pressed on. She cared. In 1995, she stayed up nights until you got that tune right. Work pulled her away, not you. He paused, his fingers hovering over the keys, then struck one, soft at first, then firm, a chord blooming. I said, "Play it for her for us." He nodded slowly, tears in his eyes, and his hands found Henry's song, steady and strong. I sat down, tears falling too, the music a lifeline stitching us back together. The Portland dusk shone gold that Thanksgiving Eve, the piano's melody spilling through my house as Jack's hands played Henry's song, steady and alive, a thread pulling us close across years. Lily drove back with us from Billings 3 days ago, her birthday bringing her home. My daughter Jane walked in with Tommy and Sue, Jane's sister-in-law, followed by kids, Sam and Ellie, making the room loud with chatter. Plates clinked as we ate turkey and rolls. I sat with a mug of tea, feeling light after 7 years apart. Jack ran his fingers over the strings, and Mom's lullaby hummed soft. He smiled and said, "Grandpa, I missed this. I missed you." Lily had stayed after Jack's call broke through her distance. She said, "Grandpa, I heard her and I can't stay away." We sat with tea steaming and quiet words, then played. Jane hugged her and said, "Welcome home." Tommy laughed. "Cousin's back." The harp stood with Mom singing to Lily, family whole again. George, our neighbor, poked his head in and asked, "Hank, is the harp singing now?" I grinned. Lily's touch does it. Silence can't stop us. Lily looked up and said, "In 2016, I left because I failed her. I thought I let her down and hid until this." Jane stirred sugar into her coffee and said, "I thought you forgot us." Tommy nodded. "Cousin's the best." Lily smiled. "The best?" "In 2010, I lost Grandma and thought I'd break you. I hid until this played." I chuckled. "Break us? We're tougher than that." Sue laughed. "Ruth danced with Ellie to that tune." Lily grinned. "She'd love this with me here." The house buzzed. George told stories, Sue sliced bread, kids giggled. I leaned back, happy with our loud, strong family. Thanksgiving felt full, roots deep through the years. Later, alone, I stood by it. The harp felt warm. Lily's hid till this, rang with Mom's laugh in my head, a gap mended by music, family steady, love and song all we need. Lily stayed, her voice shaky 3 days back when she said, "Grandpa, I heard you and I can't stay away." We sat with steaming tea and shared quiet words, then played together. Paul smiled and said, "He kept us singing, still does." Sue nodded and added, "In 1982 he played till dawn for my wedding, kept me steady." The piano gleamed. 1972, Henry crafting it for me. 1995, Jack's small hands on the keys, a lifeline humming. Clara asked, "He's here, Gran?" I grinned. "He's in every note, laughing at my shaky hands." Later, alone, I sat by it, piano warm, Jack's, thought she left me softer now. Lily's missed you a bomb, Henry's echo in their hands. Ever hear a quiet thing sing your family back, whole through cracks? That's what he gave, this piano, these lives, a song stitching us, timeless and true.